There we go. I was muted. Welcome to the Nicholas Snow Show on PromoHomo.TV. I'm your host, Nicholas Snow. Can you hear me now? I feel like I'm in a cellular commercial. My guest today is described as a veteran, friend, and advocate. Mia Mason is a 20-year military veteran who has served in the Navy, Army, and DC National Guard. Because of her LGBT status, she was discharged and brought back in legally. Mia has served on board USS Kitty Hawk CV-63 for operations enduring freedom and Iraqi freedom. She also aided in the relief efforts for Hurricane Katrina while serving on the USS Bataan LHD-5. While in the Navy, she has been stationed in Japan and Norfolk, Virginia, with serving various commands. She has completed a total of 5 combat tours between Iraq and Afghanistan while serving in the Navy and the Army. Mia served with moral courage, honor, and commitment by working to protect her fellow soldiers from danger. She was a successful congressional candidate in 2020 in Maryland, meaning that she made it all the way through the general election. And we're going to learn what is coming up for her campaign next. It's going to officially launch again. I'm going to tell you that right now. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And as always, for their support of my show, I want to thank DAP Health, serving Riverside County and the greater Coachella Valley, where I'm based in Palm Springs, keeping me alive for 10 years. Gotta love them. Also, 849 Restaurant and Lounge, a longtime supporter of mine. If you're into burgers, they've got an amazing burger. And on their brunch menu, I'm loving the Monte Cristo. You are 100% organic as an audience. What does that mean? It means I don't pay to boost my program to different viewers. You have found it because someone felt it was valuable enough to share with you, and you are interested in the content. And I welcome you here. I now have official merch on Amazon, and if you send me a photo of you in the merch, I'll feature it on the show with your permission. And in June, I'm launching a limited series here on PromoHomo.TV called Life Positive, based upon the book by the same name. It's my Living Powerfully with HIV memoir. And this will be a deeply personal series in which I share really compelling components of the book. In the book, I talk about the creation of a worldwide music video campaign to promote HIV testing and safer sex. You don't have to read the book to find the video on YouTube, or you can ask your smart speaker to play it. I'm getting really promo homo now. If you're in casting, check out my reel at PromoHomo.TV/actor. And you can support this program for as little as $3 a month using the Patreon platform. If you do that, your name gets put in the credits for a period of time, and then you get listed and you have a hyperlink at PromoHomo.TV. I want to invite you to save the date. So we're at a place in the pandemic now where we can be confident that something will be happening for Greater Palm Springs Pride. And the main events are Friday through Sunday, November 5th through 7th, but there's a whole week of activities going on. You'll want to save the date. We're going out live on March 18th. If you see this in time, this coming weekend, the center has reimagined its Red Dress event in celebration of the 10th anniversary of the food bank. I am a proud media sponsor of the LGBT Community Center of the Desert. With all of that said, I can hardly wait to welcome our special guest, Mia Mason, after this.
And I just can't get enough of your energy. I just can't get enough. You're the light in the middle of the night, and I just can't get enough. Oh, 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 oh,
So, after leaving the military, Mia started working with advocacy groups and has worked to advance the civil rights of all. She has opposed the discriminatory policies of President Trump and was even a speaker at the 2018 Women's March in Washington, D.C. Mia has chosen to take the next steps in her journey by helping others door to door. Her driving force is to do good, provide proper representation, and restore equity with equality. She has always served others and looks forward to helping the people of Maryland even more. So, welcome to the show, my special guest, Mia Mason. Hi, Mia.
Hey, Nicholas.
It's so nice to have you here. I thank you for your service, as does one of our viewers, Rick, which gives me the opportunity to let our live viewers know that if you ask a question or post a comment during the show, I may be able to feature it. So, first of all, were you raised in a political family?
No, not at all. I was just, my family was kind of around a military base and everything else, so we did nothing with politics at all. But every time I had something come up in my life, it revolved around politics later on.
So you were raised in a military family?
Kind of. My mom sold carpet for a living, and my dad was a government contractor, making drawings and being an architect. So that's what he loved doing.
So you come from a real working class environment. Did you have a large family?
Not really. We were blue and white collar. So we did both the hard work and the easy work, depending on whatever paid more. And we did exactly what we needed to. So just me and my sister, we grew up together. And, even she's still in the military today.
I know we're jumping way ahead in the story. When you went into the military, did you go in as an officer? Did you already have college behind you to allow you to do that?
I didn't have any of that. I was out of high school on my way to basically work my way, through a normal job. I started as a dishwasher, if you honestly believe that, became a cook, a line cook, a cashier. Was working my way through management, and then I was offered, a combat engineer for the Army, but the Navy kind of scooped me up and said, why don't you do this amazing job? You get 3 hot meals a day, and you get to go see the world. So signed up for the Navy, with my hesitant parents who were like, you should have a career, and this is a great career for you. And I was like, went back home, back on the couch and said, what now? And realized that I needed better leaders, better mentors, and better coaches in my life. And thankfully, I found those throughout the military.
Now, at the time you entered the military, were you identifying as male?
Yes.
Publicly?
Yes, that's how it was back in 1998. Don't Ask, Don't Tell came around in 93. Didn't even know what gay was. If I was going to school, everybody was different than I was. And I didn't know how to express myself or be who I wanted to be. So it was a period of hiding for me and trying to have self-discovery because, whenever I go to colleges and stuff, I'd be more open, I'd be more free. But when I joined the military, I had to completely suppress that and be someone that I wasn't.
So, for our viewers that may not know this, gender identity and sexual orientation are 2 different things.
Yep.
One does not determine the other. Were you hiding your sense of your gender identity, or was there also issues around your sexuality that you felt you were unresolved and unexpressed?
Well, I think that it was more of my identity because it had to grow on me. I would spend more time with my grandmothers. I would spend more time with my girlfriends than I ever did. And we enjoyed our time better. And I was like, well, if I'm around the guys and everything else, I'm not welcomed. I am not appreciated. I am not being respected. And that really hit my identity very hard on everything about me and who I was. I thought I had to be this other person for them and be macho and be this and be that and not be smart and all this other stuff. And I was like, I'm literate and capable of doing this. I can do anything that you can do. And, these women are better and I'm with them and you don't treat them right. So that was part of my struggling identity within myself.
Since you were discharged under those policies and then brought back in legally, when and how did your discharge come about? Was it because you expressed something, you told something, or were you investigated? What were the circumstances?
Well, back when Don't Ask, Don't Tell ended, I was already transitioning. I knew who I was. I was ready to become who I was, getting the mental health I needed through the military, actually. And then, I when I was off work, off duty, I was just starting to identify as someone else. I wasn't even public. And then basically when I started getting all my proper hormone treatments and everything else, when I came to the DC National Guard, it was found out through my medical records because, one of the biggest disconnects in the military is our active duty side and our veteran side. Well, I was using my VA benefits to help me transition since I was allowed to do that as a veteran, but as an active duty service member, I wasn't allowed to do that. Well, with the National Guard, a commander found out by reading my medical records and realizing that this Mia person, which is me, also existed and couldn't say that was correct. So that form of transgender and transgenderism was not accepted. But the policies changed, and that's how I was able to legally stay in. And thankfully, a president came around and said, we are accepted.
So it was President Barack Obama that allowed you to serve openly as a transgender individual.
That is correct. And when he made that announcement, I was just picking up my discharge paperworks. I was being ordered in as a male. I already had surgery done. I already had my legal name change done, and they couldn't accept it. They ordered me back in as a male. Cut your hair, shave this, show up right, do the right things in the wrong uniform with the wrong person because this is who I became like 2 months ago. But of course, they lost their paperwork. They lost this, they lost that, and none of which I had to do. But then, when the president came out, I had to simply just call my attorneys and get back into the military. And this being the National Guard, it took a lot longer than if somebody was active duty. So we spent almost a year and a half getting me back into the military.
Who did you rely on to get you through that really difficult time?
I would have to say some of my closest friends, like Sergeant Watson, who was there with me. The commander, Colonel Arizaga, who fought for me. Major Hoffmeister, who was there to help me, and a good mentor was Major Cravens, who basically, said that, we're trying to fight equity. We're trying to fight for equality, and it's happening to everyone. And, this is just you and your case. So just accept the process and get through this. You can live. Because I was going through a lot. I lost my job. I lost my car. I lost my home. I was being discriminated against by employers. Even those in the Coast Guard were not accepting of me when I transitioned publicly full time. So I had surgery. I had this. I was done, and they couldn't accept me. But that was very hard, to the point that even I thought that I didn't need to be around anymore. I thought that I didn't have a will to live anymore. But those people brought me back and told me that I had a bigger purpose in life to do that, because every time something happened, it was revolved around, what I'm fighting for right now for others.
I'm incredibly moved by your story. And the reason why it's so important is because even though there's more transgender visibility than ever, there's still, the result of it is that there's more misunderstanding and ignorance showing its face. Some of it in just a confused, uneducated way, but some of it in a hateful, bigoted way. And when you hear about these major policy shifts, whether it be the amazing decision of Barack Obama to allow you to serve openly, or the horrific move of Donald Trump to just wipe that all out, people don't realize the deep stories behind those situations and the lives that are truly being impacted. So I think it's important that people know the depths from which you have traveled.
Yeah, because what I lost in the day that President Trump decided to, consult himself with a religious freedom group to strip everybody's rights away, to strip away everybody's benefits away, what I had already lost in the last year and a half, 2 years, I could see that happening to 10 to 20,000, including their family members, just being thrown out on the streets with their kids and loved ones because their parent or their LGBT member was, wrongfully discharged by a tweet. So we went directly to the sources and said that was wrong. And we're so thankful for our wonderful, loving nation to come together to fight legally and be on the streets daily to make sure that our health benefits, our education benefits, our jobs are there as they are right now.
Shiloh, a colleague and friend of mine for decades, says, "Thank you for staying and for fighting, because every person that fights paves the way for those coming up."
It's true.
I noticed on your website, which I'm going to show off in the show, I'm going to take people there before we conclude. You don't lead with the fact that you are transgender on the front page in any of your initial language, nor should you be compelled to or have to. I think that labels are important as we fight for our rights, but I believe in the best sense of the world, we won't need those labels anymore. We can just show up in our humanity. And I'm just curious, are you strategic in when and how you identify yourself as trans in your life and in your political pursuits?
I just try to be exactly who I am, as you see me, as if I was born this way. This is who I am, and this is how you accept me. I identify as this. This is my orientation as well. As a lesbian who loves another woman, it wasn't your business. But, if you need to know, I can answer that question and teach you so that you don't have to, hurt others or harm others because you may feel the urge to discriminate against us or have some type of prejudice. But that time will come. Give it another decade or generation, and then maybe this can all be put behind us without this division in our nation.
Yes, and I just want to stress that I don't think that it's the responsibility of anyone to come out about who they are in their life's journey in the moment. And I think that it should be allowed for everyone just to show up and not have to explain ourselves. But as a political leader and someone that is really breaking barriers and ceilings, it's such an important part of your narrative. I guess it would be thrilling if you didn't have to even talk about it, if we lived in the world where it wasn't an issue, but
Yeah.
it is. However, to have made it into the general election in Maryland in 2020, and to have gotten the support that you did, clearly you have achieved a significant, widespread grassroots support. And I was wondering if you would speak to how that came about.
Well, it was all 100% organic. It was something that I had to personally just wake up every day, get in my car, drive to the communities, drive to the neighborhoods, and meet the people who were going to decide my fate in the primary election or the general election. And because of the pandemic, that kind of changed my game to where then I had to pick up the phone and actually call people. I was a lot more personable. People got to see me, know me face to face. That was something I was able to do every day. But in this last year, almost a year and a week now, we've been out of touch. We've been in meetings like what we are right now to talk to our communities. And that's been very hard to do and persuade people to pick up the torch again and go forward and fight for us with politics, to fight for equality. But we're glad to be here today to share this message with everyone.
Well, I'm honored that you're taking the time to be on the show, and I think it's really important to elevate important stories like yours, and also you're advocating for so many shared values of so many that really gave us President Biden. I was wondering if you would speak more about your platform and what differentiates you from your potential competitors and your past competitors.
Well, I think the biggest thing that we have is not only just our experience, but our, progressive policies. People are suffering with, worrying about their job, their paid wages, their health care. The environment is super big for us and those who serve in our military, if it's even going to be around here in the next 10 years. This is the biggest thing that we have to fight for, not only here in Maryland as our sea levels are rising, but the cost of living and what's affordable and what's not affordable. So we have to be able to embrace these progressive ideals and make that policy work. And because we have so much power now in the House and Senate, we need to be able to add that more in there so that we can continue to see our country grow and succeed for the next 100 years, so that we don't result to being divided anymore as President Trump came in with his big axe and hurt everyone.
I've put your website on the screen. I want our viewers to notice the letter D, the middle initial D, miadmason.us, so people can find it. You reference in what you just said, if it's even here in 10 years. Were you referring to the military or the protection of trans people in the military?
Both, actually. That was one of my biggest fears when, President Trump actually was going to basically bring out his don't ask, don't tell policy again, which could have helped swipe away everyone who is in the LGBT community, just not transgender people. They were really honing in to that, to the point that they were even, sending our veterans back to the countries they came from and denying them citizenship, which was really heartbreaking to fully understand why they would do this. Why would they hurt our own military that protects us here in this country? And then they allow the attacks to happen on our own ground on the US Capitol. Our military was there. We were ready. The DC National Guard was minutes away, but they held out for 3 hours. I could have been in uniform. I could have been there, but I retired so that I could fight for our entire nation. That's why I ran for Congress, because I needed to elevate myself, not just from being a soldier with a gun protecting our nation, but to be a voice to allow others to uphold those same values to protect our country and keep us in the military.
Well, thank you again for your service. In your community, you're in the sort of general Baltimore area.
Yeah, most people don't know where Carroll County is, so we often say Frederick County, but it's just one of those things that, we're waiting until the fall to really get into our campaign season again. We want to make sure everyone gets vaccinated. And of course, one of the biggest pushes we have right now in Congress and Senate is, getting the Voters' Rights Act passed. Getting that to the president's desk is so super important, because it's going to help end what is allowing Republicans to stay in office, to suppress everyone, to discriminate against everyone. And this is the gerrymandering that's been done here in Maryland. If you take a look at our district, it goes from the hills all the way in Carroll County, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. So it's a huge district. It's the size of 2 Delawares, and it shouldn't be this way. We should have the proper representation, and that's done through redistricting. And we have to work with our governor and our president to make sure that everybody has the right to vote. They can show up to vote or mail in their vote as soon as possible.
Your current state elected officials, are any of them coming out in support of the protection of voting rights?
Well, we have 7 of the 8 that fully support it. So if you take a look at Mifuse, Sarbanes, Trone, Hoyer, Raskin, and of course, Representative Brown, big advocates for making sure that we have our voters' rights. Where Representative Harris even voted against our own police officers in Washington, D.C. So it's no surprise that Andy Harris wants to be the authoritarian leader of Maryland and also be the authoritarian leader of the future of our country. So we can't allow him to stay in office.
If you had the ability to solve 3 of your challenges right now in terms of relaunching your campaign in the fall, what would those be?
Well, I think the first 3 things we want to make sure that everybody's capable of doing is getting a vaccine, spending time by Memorial Day or 4th of July with their families and loved ones without having to worry or being isolated as they have been for the last year, and then making sure that they have employment, making sure that they have affordable health care. And this is why I'm such a big advocate of, Medicare for all. So that we can have a price point per year, $600 per year instead of $600 per month or per week for your family. I think that's super grateful if we can make that include everybody. And the last thing that is big here in Maryland is helping our farmers, helping our fishermen. But the thing that we're trying to give them is a cash crop, and it's called marijuana. It's CBD. And that's the big last thing that we're a super progressive advocate on, is making sure that people have this medical treatment and product that's available to help everyone and rid us from fossil fuels. This is something that Maryland can be a leader on, as many other states have already legalized it. I'm ready for Maryland to step forward. I'm proud to represent them and take them into the future with us.
Very well stated. I've brought up a screenshot of what actually the website is live, but I've clicked on the tab Key Issues so you can see that you speak about civil rights, education, environment, healthcare, infrastructure, jobs and economy, rural communities, veterans. One of the things I particularly love on your website, among many things, is on the Meet Mia page, there's this fantastic photo that was taken as part of the Out 100, in which you were featured with some other transgender service members. I was wondering if you could speak about sort of the journey that you've gone through from not knowing who you were when you went into the military to fighting for your identity and learning to love and express and accept yourself, and then now being in a position where you're being identified for the way that you are expressing your life force. How must that feel?
It feels like a great honor to have. I have to look at some of my good friends like, Fallon Fox or, Chief Beck, Lady Valor, because they were here before me, before I picked up the torch and said, this is my turn to make our light shine. Or our neighbors to the east, like Sarah McBride, now Senator McBride, or Danica Roman to our south. These are important, influential leaders who have told us exactly who we are, who we represent, and what we're capable of doing. So when it came time to basically being in the forefront and fighting against President Trump, I couldn't use my name. I was still serving as Sergeant Mia Mason. So those pictures represent the John Does and Jane Does who took on the president. And there's thousands others who had legal court cases to take on this horrendous, unjust act done by the president. And, they're still fighting in court to make sure that we have the legal right to play in sports, go to the bathroom safely, get an education, get a home, have a job. So that's what led into that part of the Out 100. And without those people being in the right place at the right time, we couldn't be able to speak up and share our voice as representing everyone from the armed forces, the Air Force, the Marines, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Army, and the National Guard. We all were a part of this because we stood up and said the president was wrong. And that's how we ended up in the 100.
It takes such courage, I think, for everybody, regardless of where they come from in life, to honor and express a truth that might be in opposition to the family in which they're being raised and to the world in which they've been formed and molded. I think that anytime someone just decides to honor and express their truth about any issue, it's a beautiful thing. And especially when people are doing that around issues that have a lot of ignorance and misunderstanding and hatred and fear and bigotry associated with them. It's like, in so many ways, you are the light in the darkness.
Yes. Yeah, it was hard to make that light even brighter, to give other people that stage. That was one of the reasons we went to the Women's March, to speak about that, to talk about the chaos that was happening in our country, to tell women to run, because they saw me as a woman. They didn't see me as transgender. And that's why it isn't like super pronounced on my website or anything else. But if you get to know me and know who I am, then maybe I'll tell you exactly who I was and what I went through, and show that I can provide you that torch and teach you what I did to make you succeed further than what I did.
Well, I appreciate your approach to showing up authentically and not leading with that issue. And I hope that it wasn't an issue that I led with that issue today, because I think that that's just such a powerful part of your story and something to be celebrated.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a long, difficult process, but without the people in my life to support me and get me through there, we have a reason for living. And I'm thankful to be here with so many others that are ready to live. So if you know anybody that's ever thinking about suicide or harming someone else, they need to make sure that they get the proper mental health and be successful in who they are and what they want to do, and follow their passion and their dreams.
Was there a time when you considered suicide? Did it get that dark for you?
Yes, it did. I just lost my car. I was in the process of losing my home. I was out of work, waiting for a new job to start in like 2 weeks, if it was even going to start. I just received a $7,000 medical bill and didn't know how to pay it. And then, we had the Baltimore riots going on at the same time, and I didn't know if our National Guard was going to get caught up and brought into that, and if I was even going to be accepted or allowed to serve openly. So it was very difficult during that time after losing like everything. But thankfully, I was able to get back into the VA, get things squared away, and found the right people to talk to. And, that led me down the correct path, and say that, what, I can either do business or I can do politics. And I chose politics because that made a bigger, impactful change to the 143,000 people who got to hear my story and get to know me and to support me, to be their representative, to say yes to them instead of no, because that's what they needed in life. They were tired of being told no, and they're still being told no right now. That's why we're running for Congress again.
I want to say you go, girl, but that would be, and I just did, but in a way that could be conceived as disrespectful. But I'm just right behind you. I've put the website on the screen again. What would you like to say in conclusion?
Well, I'm simply being who I am. You should be that same person too. If you see yourself in the mirror and you're not happy with it, make that change. Make that leap of faith. Trust your instincts and go for it. If they say no or yes, accept it. Be willing to provide that equity and the equality to someone that you don't know and help them along the way. I think that would make the big difference, as we now have President Biden able to help all of us, as he did this week with a stimulus check, and then hopefully everybody can find a wonderful job and an opportunity to succeed. Even if you have to start your own business or find your own career path to help others, it's worth it. It's worth living for.
I know I made that sound like it was going to be the last question, but I'm going to make you full screen again, and I'd love for you to speak about the paintings behind you.
Well, so this is Mr. Cummings and, of course, RBG, influential leaders who we both lost. So when it comes to equality, we need to make sure that we take care of her. And when it comes to voting, we have to make sure we take care of him. So we have full representation no matter where you are in this country.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to meet you here today. Feel free to come back on the show when your campaign is up and running again. And if you hang tight, we can speak briefly after the show, but thank you again.
Of course. And if they want to see what our current representative has done wrong, they click on the donate link and you'll see exactly all of the betrayals our current representative has done over the years.
That means I'm going to put that up again. So miadmason.com. And actually, if you go up here to the donate link, as Mia has invited, there's all kinds of information about what Harris is doing wrong. And we definitely want to help Mia correct the issue and do it, and with the community, do it right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate you being on the show today, and I will see you backstage in a minute.
Thank you, Nicholas.
And I want to thank all of you at home for watching, and as usual, honor and express your life force, because you never know what difference you're making in the world and for others. I'll see you next time.
Oh, 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 don't you ever stop smiling. It's too contagious to hide.